My name's Geoff, and I serve as a councillor for the Porirua City Council, representing the General Ward of Onipoto.
Good morning.
Oh, hello. How's it going? Dale, it's just a new person? Yeah.
Good morning.
You know it's bloody early, right?
Yeah, is that okay?
It's all good. No, I'm just making breakfast.
How are you?
Great. I'm just grateful it's a good warm day, mate.
It is good.
Yeah. Like I said, take a seat and I'll make my breakfast. I usually have.
Are you fond of rugby?
I'm a fan of all sports, mate.
Awesome.
So I'm a member of the local rugby club here, Northern United, and also involved with the local cricket club, the Taniwhas, as well. And I love American sports as well. So this baseball season's just about to start, and for my sins, I'm a New York Mets supporter. So you just gotta keep the faith.
Tell us the story of this place, or why you would love to come here.
There's so many reasons why. First of all, like when it's a really hot day, this place is heaving, absolutely heaving. People out here swimming, enjoying the water space, kids in particular. And there's so few places here in the bay or on this side of the coast where you get sandy beaches. So it's a real gem. An area that covers the west and the east of this amazing city, Porirua. And geez, how I fell into this role, who knows? But it's always been about looking after our communities.
That's my first question to start this. Why you choose to be a city councillor?
It's a good question. When we first moved to the bay, when the storms would hit, the rain would roll down the hills just outside here. And this house was built on an old stream. So when the water can't go anywhere else, it just goes back to where it used to go. And in one particular instance, the water got so high, it was almost going to flood the house out. And we were lucky it didn't happen, but our neighbours weren't so lucky. And, when that happens, we do our best to look after each other, trying to mop up the water or unblock drains or even just making cups of tea and scones for everybody. But no matter how good a community is, how good a whānau is, there's certain things that we just can't do on our own. That's the responsibility of what a good government should be doing, looking after people because they need someone to fight for them. And I figured that when it comes to the kind of decisions that they make, they need to understand why they're important to people like my neighbours and people like us. And not just when it comes to the water that's coming when the rains come, but also the quality of the roads, whether or not we're doing right by our communities in terms of hiring local and training local. But the real why, is that when I was a kid, I grew up in a home that wasn't always safe. And I knew that I didn't want to be at home. So there were two things that were really important to me. One was a bike, so I could pedal and get away. And the other was a library. And because of the library, I could go there, I could feel safe, and I could learn about how things work. Whether it's learning about the human body, or learning how machines were made, or even just learning about history. And it was a way to get away, to see the world beyond. So libraries are like a big deal for me, because they're like a tool to help unlock and make people feel safe. So yeah, that's my own why for 2 why stories for the price of 1.
Yeah. That's awesome. So for the people who watching this documentary about you, who are excited, they want to follow the pathway of the councillor, can you tell us a bit more about exactly the role of the councillor, and what's your portfolio? Do you take a portfolio, or you have any issues you brought there? How things work in the council, if I put it that way?
So for those who are interested in council, the first thing you should be mindful of is just learn as much as you can about how each council operates, because not everybody's exactly the same rules or the way that they conduct their business. But what I think a good councillor should do, and I try to do, is that these are the most powerful tools you have. You may not always agree with what people say, but you need to listen. You need to hear it all. And that takes, it is hard sometimes, especially when some people play the player rather than the ball. But you've got to listen to it all. When you're around the table, you are there to make decisions on behalf of the city as a whole. But you do come representing a community. For me, it's onipoto. With whānau and households that go all the way from Titahi Bay, through Elsden, Kinepuru, all the way through to Ascot Park, Waitangirua, Cannons Creek, Ranui, and even Aotea. They're so diverse, not just in terms of income levels, but also the amount of time that people have, put down roots here. Takapawahia is in this rohe, which is, the marae for Ngāti Toa, who have the longest period of time here. Those who were born here, those who came here and settled here, and with identities all across the world. So you need to be open to listening to all of it and reflecting it all back in with the decision making as well. When you get around the table, you are given, information from council officers who are there to provide recommendations. Sometimes you agree with recommendations, sometimes you don't. But ultimately, you're there to make decisions. I can tell you right now, nearly every single time, they are a choice between 2 options, or at least 2 options, and neither one of them is perfect. That's why those decisions end up at our table to begin with. So you wrestle with what you think is right, but also what you feel is right as well. Mm-hmm. And nothing is cost-free. So it's why it's so important to remember why you're there. It's so important to remember the people that you engage with and trying to reflect their stories at the decision-making table. Well, that seems to be my view of it anyway.
Before council, how was the life?
So I was born up in Waihi, which is a mining town, but my parents met in a factory where they used to make televisions and radios. And my dad was in the Navy, and After he left the Navy, he did a whole heap of different types of jobs, and we moved around a little bit. In fact, I used to say he drove everything except the police car and the fire truck. Mum, she grew up in Te Puke, in the Bay of Plenty. If she was here, she would tell us that she went to school to eat her lunch. She didn't go to university or polytech or anything like that. So when she worked, she was working the jobs that, you know, are only available when you don't have those qualifications. Being a cleaner, stocking shelves, working as a kitchen hand. My parents didn't have careers, they had jobs. And I'm grateful for them to making sure that me and my whānau were looked after. The lights were on, the place was warm, we were fed. And like I said, we moved around a bit. So I went to university in Hamilton, and I know it sounds strange to say this, but I was training to initially become a scientist, studying molecular biology and biomedical science. It seems like an age ago, bro. And then I decided that it didn't give me the same kind of passion that it once did. So I decided to move down to Wellington. And I've lived in Wellington now longer than any other place in the world. So I've got no case to make that I'm not a Wellingtonian. But my blood takes me back to Rotorua, no Ngāti Whakauiaho. That's where my whānau's marae is, that's where my tupuna are buried. It's, if I'm going up to see my mum, I drop in there as well to see the rest of Dad's whānau as well. In the airport in Rotorua, there's this portrait of my grandfather, my dad's father, Koro Bloki, when he left to fight the Germans in World War II. And I think about him a lot in terms of his service and Dad's service and looking after other people. But in terms of what I've done down here, a lot of the work that I do has been helping others, whether it's been working with those with sexual violence, trauma support services, or preventing gambling harm, or even just working in the community, trying to make sure that, like for instance during COVID, that people's needs around housing and immigration in an uncertain moment, that they were being heard and trying to do something to help out.
If I ask you about future, how do you look like a future for the city, for the whānau? But we're talking about specifically in this beautiful city, Porirua. In your perspective, how does that future look like?
My vision is that Porirua is the kaleidoscope city. There is strength in acknowledging that we've got peoples and cultures and beliefs and ways of living and things that make us proud of who we are that come from every other part of the world. And they've made a home here in Porirua, whether you are from Ngāti Toa and have had your bones are here, or you've just arrived. You're welcome here in Porirua. I want to make sure that the kids who grow up in this place are proud to do whatever they choose to do to help the city grow. It's not just about making sure that we send kids to have good degrees in engineering or in education or in law. I want kids to grow up thinking that they can be business owners. I want them to be growing up thinking that they can be engineers and building things here. We need so much to be done here in terms of our pipes and our roads, that why should we not think about our own rangatahi as a way of being able to do that work? And I want those kids who do that work to stay here, so that one day they'll tell their kids, I built that. I helped with that. And they will then see that as the lesson they'll get to pass on to the next generation.
Yeah.
That's my vision.
What would be your advice?
Advice for young people, for rangatahi?
For young people, rangatahi, and anyone else who want to learn something about the council or as a city councillor?
I'll be honest with you, council work ain't sexy, but it's important. Kind of like brushing your teeth. But those who are passionate about it, the first thing I'd say is this. In the end, all we have are our stories.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that to not just come with your own idea of what council is, to talk to others, to learn from others. The council website obviously has enough information about what it's doing and so forth, and that's always going to be a useful tool. But to do politics isn't about knowing the rules of a game. It's about knowing how that game impacts people's lives. So feel comfortable to constantly ask questions and learn more about the people around you. Meet your neighbours, meet your communities, engage with them. You'll build your own confidence, because in the end, those stories are powerful, and you can't teach that in a book. You just can't. I find that the people who are the most effective in politics, whether it's at central government level or local government level, are the ones who are able to remind themselves of why they are there constantly. And so rangatahi have a role in that, because they're going to inherit all the decisions that I'm going to make. And there are people older than me that are on there. I'm probably the age of most rangatahi's parents, the parents of most young people, that generation. And there are people who are older, way older than that. I don't want to be disrespectful to them, but, So now is the time to kind of see the world and ask questions of other. And don't let anyone tell you that just because you're young, you don't understand the world. Because you do. And it annoys me so much when people say that about young people. Nice. There are people who have had to deal with trauma and pain and loss and sacrifice at an age where most people are probably just going to high school or going to school. They are not any less intelligent or any less filled with pride and emotion and pain than any other person. And I've seen some extremely intelligent 16-year-olds, and I've seen some completely stupid 61-year-olds. Age ain't a barrier here, and it shouldn't be.